Ma'am, we're good to go. Ma'am, you can start. We're good to go.
A very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the Good Monk Nutrition Summit during the Rashtriya Poshan for celebrating the National Nutrition Month. We are extremely thankful to IDA Kerala chapter for welcoming us and helping us organize the seminar today. I'd hand over now to Ms. Soumya Nair, who's the convener for the Indian Dietetic Association Kerala chapter. Soumya, I welcome you to start the session today.
Yeah, thank you, Sheetal. Good evening, one and all. Actually, it is indeed a very great honor to welcome you all. This is the first webinar conducted in the National Nutrition Month by the IDA Kerala chapter. So, as we all know that we are celebrating Poshan Ma, and the theme this year is Suposhit Bharat, Sashakt Bharat. This actually means, and we should be actually very much happy that a strong India could be built with a strong nutrition base. So that is the actual theme of this year's National Nutrition Month. So everybody is getting new ideas about how nutrition or how a healthy eating or the right eating way could build a better future in our country. So this is actually we all should be proud that this theme is being selected this year. And on this occasion, like every other nutritionist in the world, like Indians are also behind focusing on the importance of developing the right food choices for every people in the rural and in the urban settings. So in this occasion of National Nutrition Month, we all are very much privileged to attend all the webinars which is happening around. So much of activities is happening around. So that is really heartwarming to see all these things. So my duty today is to welcome our participants and our beloved speakers to this webinar. So we all know that gut health has a direct effect on the hormones, on the immune system, on the what not I could say, because all the metabolism. So in the older eras, we used to hear that if you want to please a person, you have to please his gut, right? So similarly, if we want to be very much healthy, then we have to please our gut microbiomes. So that is the latest study which is coming up. And on this, on this topic, we have an excellent, eminent person to talk about the gut microbiomes and the different settings which is going to happen today. With great honor and pleasure, I would welcome Mrs. Sheila Krishnaswamy, ma'am, because this is again a pride moment for Kerala chapter. She is the former president of IDA. So definitely I have seen her, or we all have experienced her creating more awareness about nutrition activities, and through even in the IDA settings itself, she has been very much extending her knowledge throughout. So with great honor, I welcome Sheila ma'am, and she is the registered dietitian with 40 years of professional experience, and that is definitely going to help us today. And she's pioneered nutrition consult. good, enthusiastic and very sharp public speaker and a blogger. So with great pleasure, I welcome you, ma'am. And I am sure that all the participants will be very much benefited by today's class. And you will be free to ask questions because whenever we ask something to her, she explains it so well that we at last we feel happy that, oh, I was fortunate to ask this. So this is my personal experience. So please make sure of this opportunity and welcome you, ma'am. And over to you, ma'am, please.
Thank you so much, Soumya. That was a wonderful introduction. I don't think I could have introduced myself better. Thank you so much for all the kind words that you said. Can I start the talk now, or is there anything else to be, any other formality to be completed?
Ma'am, I guess we can start with the slides.
Start? Okay, thank you.
The presentation, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just share my screen. Please give me a minute. Can you see the slides?
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let me begin by thanking Superfoods Valley for inviting me to speak on Gut Guardians, Nurturing Microbiomes Across Generations at this Good Monk Summit in association with IDA Kerala chapter. I would also like to thank Sheetal Somaya for actually goading me to speak on the subject, because that made me read a lot about gut microbiome. I have read in the past, but probably did not go so much in depth into this topic. And the more I read about gut microbiome studies and papers to read on this topic, the more I realized that there's lots and lots to read, and probably just like the gut microbiome, trillions of microbes in our gut. Similarly, there's probably trillions of information also to imbibe. So there's really very little that I'm going to be talking about right now, considering there's so much to read and understand about gut microbiome. So thank you, Sheetal, once again for inviting me for this. So let's begin by seeing what the composition is throughout life and how it comes about. The gut microbiome actually begins first even before birth in the human intestine. And thereafter, the microbiome moves or is transferred from the mother to the infant right at birth. And after birth, the diversity increases and begins to grow and converge towards an adult-like microbiota. And this happens towards the end of third or 5 years, third, fourth, fifth year of life. Then onwards, it is relatively stable. So the adult microbiota is what is formed around 3 to 5 years of life, unless there is an interruption like an infection or an antibiotic treatment or lifestyle change or a surgery or a prolonged change in diet, which can change the microbial system also. And the change in the gut microbiome can increase the risk of several diseases, which we'll see a little later. So it's very important to establish a good gut microbiome so that there is less risk of disease, not just during childhood or adulthood, even much later in life. What are the factors that impact the gut microbiome? To begin with, it's the birthing process. So there is a difference between the gut microbiome in an infant born via cesarean section and an infant born through the vagina. There is not just a difference, but there's also a greater risk for a child born through cesarean section because of the difference in gut microbiome. There's a greater risk of different illnesses or diseases much later. The second influencing factor is the feeding method. So there's a difference again in the gut microbiome between breastfed babies and bottle-fed babies. And I'm sure you can guess which has a better gut microbiome. It is the breastfed baby. The third influencing factor is the stress, whether it is prolonged exercise stress or metabolic stress or psychological stress. That itself has an impact on the gut microbiome. We have all read about the gut-brain axis. There's so much more to read on this subject, but yes, there is an impact. And you're all dietitians, so you know the impact or the influence of eating right on the gut microbiome. There is, again, a lot of research in this area, but everything boils down to the fact that the prebiotic fibers like inulin, FOS, gums, pectins, resistant starch, all of them help the gut microbiome to create short-chain fatty acids, which in turn helps in various processes. So diet plays a very major role in maintaining the eubiosis or the gut microbiome health. The next one is pharmaceuticals. We all know that antibiotics, especially the broad spectrum antibiotics, do have an effect on the gut microbiome. The more dependent we are on drugs or medicines, the lesser the gut microbiome becomes active and the lesser the diversity. So therefore, many years ago, I remember when we would get a prescription for an antibiotic, it would just be the antibiotic pill that we would take. But today, a lot of doctors, along with antibiotic prescription, also give a probiotic prescription so that the microbiome diversity is not spoiled, or at least partly, it is replaced. And later on, when the person is, when the patient becomes well, with the right lifestyle and the right diet, the gut microbiome can actually come back. So that is another impacting factor. Geographical location. So a gut microbiome of a person who lives in the Americas is different from somebody who lives in Africa, which is different from a person living in Europe, and which is different from a person living in Asia and India. And even within a country, every state, or every region, every person has a different gut microbiome. So geographical location plays a very important role. And of course, life stages. At different life stages, we have different kinds of bacterial species in our gut. This is just a very small depiction of how the microbes change. So during gestation, there is more of proteobacteria and actinobacteria. From birth to 1 year, we see more of Bacteroidota. From 1 to 3 years, it is more of Firmicutes. From 3 years to adulthood, again, there is a combination of more Firmicutes and Bacteroidota. And as we age, the microbiome changes and there's more of Proteobacteria and Bacteroidota. And again, like the gestation period, Proteobacteria comes back and there is more risk towards diseases. So why is it important to maintain eubiosis or a balance in gut microbiota? You all know about gut-brain axis. So the gut talks to the brain and vice versa. Similarly, the gut talks to the heart, to the lung, to the bone, to the liver, to the pancreas, to skin, kidney, etc., etc. So there's always a communication that takes place between the gut microbiome and different parts of the body. When the gut microbiome is healthy and diverse, then the functions are very, very varied because it helps to improve or increase the short-chain fatty acids, increase antioxidant production, improve lipid metabolism, improves gut epithelium, improves the insulin sensitivity, facilitates digestion, increases vitamins production, there is beneficial metabolites produced, there's immune response regulation, mucosal immunity is much better, and there is overall homeostasis. There is also decrease in inflammation, decrease in colonies of pathogens, decrease in gut inflammation, and decrease in body fat deposition. All of these functions are possible when there is eubiosis or there's a good balance in the gut microbiota. Apologies for this very busy slide, but I thought it was very important to talk about the metabolites produced and their functions these metabolites are produced by the microbiome and the related functions. I'm just going to read out maybe 2 or 3 because it might not be very visible. So, for example, short-chain fatty acids metabolites such as propionate and butyrate, they regulate the food intake and insulin secretion and also help in maintaining body weight. Similarly, branch-chain fatty acids, including isobutyrate and isovalerate, increase the histone acetylation. Let's look at choline metabolites, which include choline, TMAO, that is trimethylamine nitrous oxide, and betaine. They regulate lipid metabolism and glucose synthesis, but in excess, they can contribute to the development of cardiovascular disease. That's why eubiosis is very important. And of course, they help in production of a lot of B vitamins and K vitamin, which in turn help in red blood cell formation, DNA replication and repair. They work as cofactors for enzymes and also enhance the immunity. So on the other hand, when there is an imbalance in the gut, which is called dysbiosis, and because it's the gut that is affected, it can lead to IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, and irritable bowel syndrome. Not just the gut, but also other parts of the body are affected because they are all connected. So it is associated with sarcopenia, rheumatoid arthritis, cachexia, frailty, hypothyroidism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, MS, depression, anxiety, pain, stress, cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, so on and so forth. And why does this happen? Because, like I said, there's trillions of microbes in our body, and each of them are doing different functions. And together, when they coexist in the right quantities, they function very well. But when there is an upset, and the upset can happen either due to poor diet or lack of exercise or irregular sleep or various environmental factors, that is when, again, the gut starts talking to different parts of the body, and different parts of the body can get affected. It could be not just cardiovascular disease, but also hypertension. It could be chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, in the lungs. It could be liver inflammation or NAFL in the liver. It could be pancreas cell inflammation. It could be osteoporosis. It could be acne, wrinkling, aging, so on and so forth. Even kidneys can get affected. There could be CKD or AKI, depending on the person who is susceptible to all of these. So the risk of a lot of health problems are increased when there is dysbiosis. Just to give you one example, I've taken this because this is the beginning of our lives, right? Pregnancy. So when there is dysbiosis, even before pregnancy, that can result in infertility in a woman. It is also associated with obesity and IBD, as I mentioned a little earlier. And in a pregnant woman, it is associated with gestational diabetes and preeclampsia. And it's not just the gut microbiome, but also the vaginal, oral cavity, and the cervix microbial communities, which is associated with pregnancy-related conditions. This is a beautiful slide which shows that in healthy pregnancy, there is more of bifidobacteria, but in an IBD or in obese women, there is more of firmicutes, more of gamma proteobacteria, and more of inflammatory markers, reducing the Bacteroidetes and bifidobacterium. Similarly, in GDM and preeclampsia, there is a different set of microbes which are increased and a different set of microbes which are decreased. So this kind of imbalance can increase the risk of complications, pregnancy complications, and childbirth. Therefore, it is very important to maintain a healthy pregnancy. And how do we do that? By modulating the factors that are associated with maternal microbiota. And these factors are diet, of course, antibiotics. The intake of antibiotics can affect the maternal microbiota. Therefore, one should be careful when one is pregnant. The genetics, of course, has an influence, and that is something beyond our control. Infection is likely to change the gut microbiota in the pregnant mom, and also the maternal stress is likely to change the microbiota. So therefore, we need to control these factors in order to have a healthy gut in a pregnant mother. And when the mother delivers, the gut microbiome is transferred from the mom to the baby vertically. And it also depends on how much of gut microbiome can be transferred from the mom to the child based on the mode of delivery. I mentioned this before. In the C-section, the gut microbiome is very different in the child, in the baby, in the newborn. And if it's a vaginal delivery, the gut microbiome is different. And the gestational age at birth is also a deciding factor. In a term baby, the gut microbiome is better developed rather than in a preterm baby, right? Once the child is born, there are again other factors which influence the gut microbiota of the infant. The feeding mode, a breastfed baby has a better gut microbiota than a bottle-fed baby. The maternal diet, because the mom is breastfeeding the infant, therefore her diet also has an influence on the gut microbiome of an infant. The genetics, of course, which is beyond anybody's control. Family lifestyle. There are a couple of studies that I read that a happy and a healthy family with a healthy gut has some kind of an influence on the infant's happy and healthy gut too. And that's a very interesting thing to read. If the siblings have a healthy gut, there is a better chance of the infant also having a healthy gut. And of course, the geographical location, depending on where the infant is born, this has an impact on the gut microbiome of the infant. So this is a great window of opportunity to modulate the infant gut microbiome by providing a good, healthy environment, healthy diet, all of that, because by the time the infant grows to become a child of 3 to 5 years of age, the diversity is already set. So here are some snippets that I picked up from 3 different studies. One of which says, of course, the risks of cesarean section include altered immune development, and the child has a greater chance of developing allergy, atopy, and asthma with reduced intestinal gut microbiome diversity. And the second one said the infant gut microbiome is derived from the mother through the vaginal canal, maternal skin contact, breastfeeding. Of course, we all know that during breastfeeding, there is HMOs which are delivered to the infant along with immunoproteins and possibly in utero microbial transfer as well. Thereafter, the external factors come in and influence the gut microbiome. So right from birth, the microbes in the gut have a lot of work to do. And this work is related to the digestion, the metabolism of food, the immune system, the neurotransmitter production, etc., etc. So there is a lot of work happening in the infants right from birth. And that's why the environment and the diet and the lifestyle is so important in maintaining good microbiome right from infancy. So when the infant grows up and becomes an adolescent, there are different influencing factors which affect the gut microbiome of adolescents. Now, today we know that teenagers are under a great deal of stress, right? It could be peer stress, it could be parent stress, it could be sibling stress, it could be, I don't know, teacher stress, maybe it could be exam stress. There are so many different stress, types of stress that is affecting a teenager. There's also poor nutrition. We all know that, teenagers today are more prone to, chronic adult-like diseases rather than what we were when we were young. So there is poor nutrition, poor food intake. There's not enough sleep. and some teenagers even take to alcohol and drugs. And all of these factors can affect the gut microbiome. And this in turn can affect the brain, which increases the risk of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, schizophrenia, and eating disorders. We all know the gut-brain axis. So this is called the microbiota gut-brain axis. And how do we beat this? Probably some studies show, in fact, very, very few studies actually that show that pre and probiotics may prove useful in both prevention and treatment of psychiatric disorders, specifically benefiting the young adult, but much more studies are required on this. When the adolescent becomes an adult, as adults, we are free to choose what we eat. Even adolescents are, but as an adult, we can take decisions without anybody compelling us what to eat. And today, I have come across a lot of adults moving to either vegan food or vegetarianism or whole food plant-based foods, whole food plant-based foods and all of those. So I've just taken again 2 snippets about vegan diet from 2 different studies, which say that a low-fat vegan diet induces a lot of changes in the gut microbiome, and these changes are relating to weight, body composition, and insulin sensitivity. And this is in overweight adults. And beneficial effects are also seen in plant-based diets on gut microbiome composition, not just in healthy participants, but also in obese participants, cardiovascular, and rheumatoid arthritis patients. So looks like there are some benefits, and there is a connection between eating more plant-based foods and the gut microbiome. In fact, even the Eat Lancet report, which was published in, I think 2018 or 2019, also emphasized more on eating plant foods, reduction in eating animal foods, which is not only good for human health, but also good for the planet health. So this diagram beautifully shows how the gut microbiome changes from a neonate to an infant to a child to an adult. And during adulthood, it reaches the peak in terms of stability and diversity. Thereafter, it falls down when we reach senior age, or in the elderly, the gut microbiome reduces in stability as well as diversity. That's why it becomes more important, even in the elderly, to follow a healthy lifestyle. There are a lot of changes that take place when we age, not just physical, but also physiological, social, pathological, so on and so forth. I'm sure you know all of this, like reduced dentition, chewing strength is decreased, muscle mass is decreased, body fat is increased, there is reduced intake as well as absorption of different nutrients. There is social isolation. Sometimes there is a change in geographic location when seniors shift to living with children or living to a senior living home or something like that. There is definitely reduced income because seniors are not working as much. There is a more tendency towards illness, chronic disease, intake of medication increases. All of this happens, and this leads to what is called inflammaging, which is inflammation during the aging process. And this can lead to diseases like Alzheimer's and the diseases associated with the elderly. Some studies have also, in fact, this was a systematic review which showed that the microbiota of elderly is very different from that of the younger adults, because there is more of proteobacteria present in the elderly and lower levels of firmicutes and bifidobacteria. And some studies showed that Bacteroidetes and lactobacilli are higher in the elderly, while some others showed they are lower in the elderly. But whatever it may be, the lifestyle and the diet of the elderly is very important, and this helps to promote gut microbiome and also reduce the risk of diseases in the elderly. So overall, the influential factors for a healthy gut microbiome continues to be the living environment. Genetics, of course, is beyond our control, but something that we can control is living environment, dietary habits, physical exercise, and at least to some extent, we can prevent or postpone the diseases and exposure to medication. And there are interventions, of course. We can change or improve the living environment. We can definitely change our dietary habits. We can definitely increase and improve on our physical activity. We can sleep better. We can get more sunshine. There are a lot of things we can maintain our stress levels or manage our stress levels better. So as long as we reduce the risk factors and improve our lifestyle habits, there is definitely a better chance of maintaining a good gut microbiome. There is, of course, prebiotics which help in better gut microbiome. Probiotics also help. Symbiotics, which is a combination of pre and probiotics, also help in improving gut microbiome. And of late, there's a fecal microbiota transplantation, which has started to take place in many countries. And there might have been a few cases in India also where there's fecal microbiota transplantation successfully, and that helps to, and this particularly takes place when there is a prolonged infection that is not reducing, by standard treatment. So that helps to improve the gut microbiome. So all in all, of course, probiotics are important because when there is not enough prebiotics in the diet, or when there is not enough complex diversity in gut microbiome, to some extent, probiotics can help in improving the antimicrobial production. Of course, they compete with the pathogens and therefore reduce the disease risk and decrease the bacterial toxin production, and they modulate the immune effect as well. So it's very important to pay attention to our gut, because the species in the microbiome species actually fluctuate or keep changing on a daily basis or a weekly basis, sometimes monthly basis. And all of this depends on the diet, medication, exercise, and sleep, stress, all of these environmental factors, and of course, exposure to pollution and all of those. So as long as we can maintain a healthy lifestyle, our gut is going to be very friendly to us. So we need to pay attention to your gut. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheila ma'am. This was a very short, crisp and enlightening talk. And as always, you always stick to time. Thank you so very much, ma'am. I think today all of us, whenever we are going to see a patient on antibiotics and not taking, pro and prebiotics, we're going to definitely be mindful of that. And we've definitely learned a great deal on inflammaging. And we're looking at 4 options definitely for our patients, that is probiotics, prebiotics, symbiotics, and FMT for them. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd now like to invite Soumya ma'am to start the panel discussion.
Sheetal, do we have to directly go to the panel discussion, or if there are some questions from the audience, we can take up some of them?
Yes, I'll just check. Ma'am, there is no question as of now. Maybe after the panel discussion, we can take all questions together.
Yeah, fine.
Ma'am, there is one question for you, Sheila ma'am. Is it the diversity of microbiota that is beneficial, or is there a best combination of microbiota? And this question is by Dr. Urmila.
Great question. I think it's the combination of the microbiota that really works in every individual. There is no specific combination, Dr. Urmila, because each one's gut is different. What your gut might have a different microbiome, and Sheetal's might be different, mine might be different. But as long as we are following a healthy lifestyle and eating right, that microbiome is going to benefit our health. So there is nothing specific, that can act for everybody. But yes, there are some, in case of disease or ill health, there are some probiotics that can help, when taken externally. It can help to build some of the good bacteria and probably help in reducing the symptoms of some of these problems, and also help to build up the good bacteria over a period of time. But otherwise, as long as we are following a healthy lifestyle, the microbes will take care of themselves, take care of our guts, and take care of us.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Urmila, I hope this helps. If not, please do reach out. We can definitely have the questions answered during the panel discussion as well. Soumya, shall we start the panel discussion?
Yeah, sure.
I'll just share the screen.
Yeah. So now we are moving towards the panel discussion. So before that, I would like to extend my like what I couldn't have more words for that. Sheetal was there from the beginning of the planning, and she has been extending her helping hand throughout the planning process of this webinar as well as the panel discussion. And she is the one who have talked to ma'am and made her agree for us. So with lot of love and pleasure, I welcome you to the webinar. And happily, she is having an experience of more than 17 years, both nationally and internationally. She has worked. She has worked in Singapore as well as in Bangalore and Mumbai. And she has varied experience in corporate pharma, teaching and whatnot. It's a long list, I guess. So, ma'am, this is a great opportunity to connect with you, and I welcome you to this webinar.
Thank you, Soumya.
And proudly, she is also a member of IDA. She is our own family only, like LEC member of Mumbai chapter. So that is again an added advantage for us also. So welcome you. And next, I would like to welcome our Anuja ma'am. There is no need of an introduction for Anuja ma'am for the Kerala chapter members. She's a founder, president of IDA Kerala chapter, and the guiding light for all the LECs who have worked till date. So I welcome you, ma'am, to the webinar. She is having, she was eagerly throughout the process of the growth of IDA Kerala chapter all these years. And she holds a very academically very strong background. And I welcome you, ma'am, to this panel discussion and for the webinar.
Thank you, Soumya.
And this is myself, no need for that, I guess. And now I welcome Krishna ma'am to the webinar. She's the RD representative of Kerala chapter. And recently she had got cleared her PhD works, and now she's Dr. Krishna Mohandas, I guess. So she's currently working as assistant dietitian at the Regional Cancer Center, Trivandrum, and her PhD thesis work was on obesity, which was an excellent one. Hope we'll get to read the abstract soon. And she's also a trained FODMAP dietitian. So she's one of the panel members who will be enlightening us on various topics in pediatrics. So I welcome you, ma'am, to the function. So, and we have another panelist who's Mrs. Swati Patel. She's a clinical dietitian and certified diabetic educator. She's having 25 years of experience working as a clinical dietitian. She worked as a clinical dietitian and with Dr. H.B. Chandalia in Mumbai. and have worked with Deepak Foundation for women's health, including teenage females, for raising hemoglobins. So some of you might have read papers from their foundation also. Then she has done various community health awareness programs, and as she is having a huge experience of 25 years, I think today we'll be able to, or we are very much fortunate to hear from her. So I welcome you, ma'am, to this webinar.
I think at the onset, let me also welcome Soumya. Soumya has been extremely helpful. We've always been speaking after hospital hours, that is, almost at 7:38. So thank you, Soumya, for taking the initiative. We planned this really fast, thanks to Anuja ma'am's guidance. So Soumya is a convener.
And I would also like to mention the IDEA Kerala chapter, like LEC members, Anita ma'am and Shilpa ma'am, like they were also extending help throughout the meeting, and always we work as a team only. So I couldn't left them back. And welcome you all the participants who have took their time from the busy schedule. I know that the now the season is not favorable for us, but still you have took time, and in any meetings, like the participants, they without them we cannot proceed. So I welcome you all to the meeting. So I think we can now start on to the or move on to the panel discussions.
Thank you so very much, Soumya. I think we all can switch on our videos. Anuja ma'am, Sheila ma'am, Krishna ma'am, Swati. At the very onset, thank you so much, everyone, for your precious time in planning as well as being there today for our panel discussion. I would like to, in the interest of time, if we could, keep our answers short and brief, because it's a Saturday evening and all our participants would want to definitely, have plans. So let's begin. My first question is to Anuja ma'am. And my question to Anuja Thomas ma'am is, ma'am, with the recurrent infections that we are seeing today amongst children, which nutrition strategies can be implemented to improve a child's immune system?
Hello, Swati. And I can trigger you, that is, whenever there is infection comes, that will always trigger the micronutrient deficiencies. Okay, so that is always influence the immune system and inflammation. That is why they are getting the recurring infections. So it is better to give the always it will affect the micronutrient deficiencies, and better to give the nutrients that is which are rich in the foods which are rich in micronutrient, especially the phytonutrients that will also increase the body to increase the immune system and also reduce the infections. So the parents also have to guide to give foods which are rich in micronutrients in order to minimize the infections. So that is, they'll have to give the high that is antioxidants, capacity of vitamin C and phytonutrients, especially the carotenoids, polyphenol content foods that should be included in the infant, that is a child's diet. That means you have to give the balanced diet for the child. So that will minimize the micronutrient deficiency. And we all know that which are the micronutrients which are essential for the immune system for the child. So that's what I want to tell you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Definitely a balanced diet is what we always recommend. But we do hear from a lot of our patients who come to us that our parents are not able to meet the micronutrient requirement and are finding it difficult either when the children are in the troublesome tools, or when they're in the eating phase, or when they're just about, touching puberty. That is when parents do find it difficult to do it. So my next question is to Soumya, and what are some of the strategies that you can recommend to encourage picky eaters to consume a diverse range of micronutrient-rich foods, especially when it comes to fruits and vegetables?
Yes, as ma'am was telling, like no matter how well we try to include fruits and vegetables, at a point of time it becomes really difficult to handle the both the toddlers as well as the adolescent children. The reason might be like in the older times we had less opportunities, or we were less exposed to these types of junk foods or the unhealthy food patterns. But now what happens is every day, through the social media, through the peer group influence, anything and everything, people or the children are very much fond of the colors or the advertisements, everything which is giving. Being a mother of an 8-year-old girl, I know the difficulties in handling all these things. But coming to the strategies, I think we should start early. The very first step we should do is when we are starting the weaning foods, at that time what happens is we need the baby to eat the larger quantities. So for that, we are the people who are adding a lot of sugar or salt or something into the weaning foods, thinking that the child will eat more. So we are introducing them to a their taste palettes are developed in such a way that something sweet is being accepted more. And if we are trying that and later on if we are complaining that the child is only eating a sweet food, then that is not going to work. So the first step, we should start it from the weaning step itself. Like when we are trying on new fruit purees or vegetable blends, then it should not be given with sugar or salt. So that is the main thing. And when we are introducing milk, what happens is we want them to grow taller, smarter or something, and we will be adding a lot of things into it, which is having a lot of sugar actually. So what happens? We need the child to actually, the nutrients are coming from the milk only. But what the idea the child is getting is something sweeter is good for you. So that should be avoided. And second thing which we had to very much focus on is being a role model. Like if we are not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables in our table, then how the child will eat? So we had nowadays as working mothers, we have a very less time to sit with the child and eat, but at least one meal we should we should try to eat healthy food so that the child will understand that this is a homemade food which is healthy. And third thing is we should never stock on the junk foods in our home expecting the never coming guest in our home. Like, so we are only eating all these things. So bringing all these fast foods and junk foods to our home is the whole wrong practice which we are doing. And what child will think is, who's gonna eat a healthy sambar or a healthy vegetable salad over a pack of chips which is already present in the home? So that practice should be avoided, and including children in the both in the planning in the shopping process, and taking them to the vegetable shop and showing that this is something healthy. So that are the basic things which we can try on, but I don't think that is going to work more. But not bringing all these things into our home is something which we can do. And also, like, the peer group influence is very much high. So what happens is, even though when we try to include more fruits and vegetables in the lunch, the child will come back and tell you that the girl or the boy sitting next to her is eating a lot of other things. So I also need the same. So the first thing we should understand is, we should never change the menu which we have already said. Every day in the lunch, we should give them at least one slice of fruit or a vegetable which she or he likes. So basically they get an idea that this is the lunch which I'm going to get. There is nothing going to happen and nothing change my mother is going to make. So in the long run, the child will get accustomed to the taste of the fruits and vegetables. And in the early stages, I think we can add a lot of fruits and vegetables in anything and everything we make, so that it becomes both healthy and attractive. So these are the things. Apart from that, since they have a very bland taste considering the fruits and vegetables, so if we are already taking lot of sugars, or we are accustomed to the sugary or the salty taste, then that is really difficult. So even if we are planning a party for a birthday for your child, it could be a healthy one, so that the other peer groups can also understand that this is something good, or this is something which can be accepted.
Done. Thank you so much, Soumya. I think the tips were definitely very practical. Starting early is the key. And like we say, avoiding the 3 white poisons at the very beginning, or minimizing as much as possible. Salt, sugar, and maida, that is, refined wheat flour, is so important, because that actually helps set the stage for the child, whether it is during childhood or even during the adolescence. So my next question is to Krishna ma'am. And Krishna ma'am, my question to you is, what are some common micronutrient deficiencies seen in children and teenagers, and what can be done to address those deficiencies earlier on? How do you recognize them? Number one, that, okay, this is a deficiency. What are the symptoms, and what should we do as dietitians to address them right away?
That is a good question, Sheetal. So as we know, they are rapidly growing and they need a lot of calcium to build their bones, a lot of vitamin C, iron, zinc, and every nutrient, of course, they need a lot. The only way to make sure that they have taken all their nutrients is to give them a balanced diet. As Soumya very rightly mentioned, we have to train them from the beginning itself. We have to train them to eat a balanced diet. Taking a balanced diet will definitely should be able to provide all the micronutrients. And in the learning phase, when they are showing some difficulty in concentrating, difficulty in remembering and all, we should start suspecting iron deficiency, anemia. When they are frequently falling sick, we should suspect all the micronutrient deficiencies per se. If the wounds are not healing well, there could be zinc and vitamin C deficiency. And only in chronic deficiency, we will be able to identify with clear symptoms like a pallor or a brittle nail or some colored spots in the nail or cracks in the mouth and all. But sometimes we see that the children, once they are put on some antibiotics, they suddenly develop mucositis. Normally they will be good, but as soon as we start them on for some infection, when they start treating with antibiotics, they suddenly start developing mucositis in 1 or 2 days. That definitely indicates that underlying deficiency of micronutrients. And also at that time, it will be very useful to give some pre and probiotic supplements along with micronutrients so that it can effectively go into the body. So that is one thing. And next thing is the child should be given more micronutrient rich foods. That is the message that we have to pass on to the society. With the advent of all this junk foods and all this advertisements and all, we are promoting mostly fat, starch and all unhealthy sugars and processed foods, whereas the natural fruits and vegetables are on the backstage. They are the least popular food when the children are concerned. As Soumya very correctly said, we have to try innovative methods to incorporate fruits and vegetables to their diet so that when they eat, they will motivate others also. So we should start from home. Every parent should understand the importance of balanced diet. And as dietitians, we have to promote the concept of balanced diet and how to balance the meal basically through healthy eating plate method and all. And even in schools, we have started initiatives where they are not permitted to stock junk foods in the canteen. Only healthy foods will be available. Such initiatives will help in a long run. So the parents should always make sure that they are giving a protein choice in every meal, at least 5 kinds of vegetables every day, at least 1 kind of fruit every day. So if they take care of that, they can actually prevent the micronutrient deficiencies. And if at all it sets in, they can identify like this, whether their child is able to study well, remember well, is he gaining adequate weight, is he falling ill frequently, all these things they can monitor before itself. before the actual signs express, these things we can use to identify the underlying micronutrient deficiencies. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. I think definitely because our children spend most of the day in school, so that is where school policies will help a great deal in, making sure that at least junk food access is not there while we do the best we can at home. So Swati, my next question is to you. Are there any specific micronutrient recommendations for vegetarian or vegan diets? That's the current fad, even amongst children and teens. And how can these diets be optimized to ensure adequate nutrient intake? Swati, we can't hear you. No, we still can't hear you. Maybe you can just increase the volume on the laptop. That would fix it. No, we cannot hear you. Swati, I'll have the team just reach out to you to help you fix the audio. Till then, I'll just move on to the next question in the interest of time. Soumya, again, my question is to you. What are the long-term health consequences of micronutrient deficiencies during early childhood, which definitely could impact growth, cognitive development, and immune function?
Yes, thank you, Sheetal. As Krishna ma'am was telling, like, if a child is not given a proper balanced diet, then definitely, obviously, we'll be having some micronutrient deficiencies. And micronutrient deficiencies actually affects all age groups, not only children, but also the adults can also have a micronutrient deficiency. But what happens is it can have some symptoms which is really visible, like what the other things Krishna ma'am was explaining, but it can also have some unseen results like lower mental capacities or lower performances, which is indeed affecting the future of the country itself. So a low performance is the one word for a micronutrient deficiency. So the output will be very feeble, or we'll be getting the productivity will be very less. So coming to micronutrient deficiencies in children, actually, we usually see that in maybe the school-going children or in the adolescent children, like the iron deficiency is the most common thing. Why? Because children will not eat a lot of green leafy vegetables or the iron rich sources. So that is very obvious. So in that case, anemia or other, even in the COVID times, we have seen that due to iron deficiency, the oxygen carrying capacity is being reduced and people are suffering a lot. So iron is the nutrient which we have to really focus on. So, and remedies like incorporating green leafy vegetables in the daily meals can be a way to overcome this. So the first one is iron deficiencies, and the second thing is calcium deficiencies, because many a times what happens is if something sweet supplements is not added to milk, children will not drink the milk. So what happens, due to the reduced intake of milk and all, we are facing a lot of calcium deficiencies, which will lead to even the stunting of growth or later on different growth and development issues. Apart from all these things, the long-term effects could be like, a lot of NCDs happening, or a lot of like people in the long run, these children who are micronutrient deficient have a chance to get a lot of hormonal changes, and that can lead to even diabetes or cancer or hypertension or all the lifestyle diseases. So apart from the growth and the development part, we should actually focus on the future of the children, which is going to actually being affected. And we especially we know that due to vitamin C or vitamin D deficiencies, there could be a lot of immune related responses. So and we know that decreased immunity means a disease condition, and again a lot of magnesium or selenium or zinc deficiencies. So all this is going to affect the hormone pathways. So again, that is different. And coming to the adolescent time, then the children or the adolescents will be very much they are very much bothered about their looks or their appearances. So in that case, even if they are having a zinc deficiency, they can have a loss of hair or a lot of hair fall issues, and even that can affect the self-confidence of the child. So these are the things which is going unseen apart from the symptoms which we actually read in the theoretical part, like this vitamin or mineral is going to give you this deficiency. So apart from that, a lot of mental changes, crisis in their upcoming future is going to happen. So definitely micronutrient deficiencies has to be addressed for a better future of the children.
Thank you so much, Soumya. I think you've covered each and every nutrient. And that's so beautifully said that it actually affects performance. Performance, I think, is one of the key indicators which even the teacher is focusing on, even the parents are focusing on. The child itself, himself or herself also wants to improve upon. So it's very important to fix it. And I really liked how you said that it's not only the physiological, but even the mental well-being of the child is impacted. And even the adulthood is impacted, because we could have an early onset of different diseases. Thank you so much. Swati, are you back? We still can't hear you, Swati. I think the team will just reach out to you again. Till then, I'll just move on to the next question. Swati, could you say hello once? We could try once more. No, we still can't hear you.
Do you think it'll help if she logs out and logs in again?
Yes, maybe Swati, you could log out and log in again at the same link. Or maybe log in from the phone, so that could help. So I'll move on to the next question. My next question is for Krishna ma'am. Are there any potential risks associated with over-supplementing micronutrients in children and teenagers? And what are the guidelines that we should as dietitians definitely follow when considering supplementation for our patients?
Thank you, Sheetal. That is a very important question. See, when we are seeing a classic clinical deficiency, or when there is a deficiency in the blood test, then only we should really supplement any micronutrient in a synthetic form. A balanced diet can always supply enough micronutrients. And when there is a deficiency of specific nutrients, we can enhance the foods containing that nutrients. That will be much safer than giving an artificial supplement, because when we are giving synthetic supplements, they definitely have the vitamin in huge doses. Double or triple RDA will be there. So when there is classic deficiency, definitely that's need to be given, but not with the mild symptoms or mild deficiency or mild chronic deficiency. No, we can correct it with the diet. That is the safest way to do that. Another thing is, a single nutrient cannot work on its own. It is always a combination of nutrients. To correct anemia, if you just give iron, we cannot correct. We should have enough protein, we should have enough energy backup, there should be enough vitamin C and other nutrients, then only it will work. So giving a synthetic supplement unnecessarily will definitely harm, because all the minerals especially can have some toxicity also. Iron overload, copper overload, everything can affect your kidneys, your liver, everything can be affected. And also even water soluble vitamins, if you give in mega doses, of course we technically say that will get washed off, but then there is no use in giving, because that is not utilized. So as dietitians, we should always try to balance with the diet itself. We should try to enhance the micronutrient through the diet itself. Once we are able to reach the RDA, then that should sufficiently prevent the micronutrient deficiency. And if there is some deficiency setting in, we can go up to double the RDA with the diet, not more than that. So that is what we should bear in mind when recommending the micronutrients. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Krishna. And yes, our first option is always to improve the diet. And we should definitely be mindful. And as much as we can get from a diet, we should focus on that. Swati?
Hi,
can you-
Sheetal. Am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Great to have you back, Swati.
Thank you. And sorry for the trouble, everybody.
Supplement
Okay.
also.
So I do, yeah.
Question to you was, are there specific micronutrient recommendations for vegetarians or vegan diets for children and teens now that it has almost become a fad as well? And how can these diets be optimized by adequate nutrient intake and supplementation?
Okay. So a very good Saturday evening to all the attendees. And thank you so much, Sheetal and the IDA Kerala chapter for having me here. Okay, so Sheetal's question is practical yet brainstorming. So I hope I do justice to it and complete it by 4 minutes given to me. All right. So it has two parts. I feel it's children and teenagers that we are talking about. So we know they are in the growth phase. The growth and the development is important. Their immunity is important. Their nervous and the brain development is equally important because they need to study at this time of their lives. So their focus and attention, their logical memory, everything needs to be taken care of. Now, in the interest of time, let me combine the vegetarian and the vegan diet both, because we all know the vegetarian diet minus the dairy is the vegan diet. Okay, and the first deficiency that honestly speaking, if the diets have been planned properly, there shouldn't be any deficiencies, but yet we do see a lot of micronutrient deficiency in our regular practices as well. Okay, so the first thing that pops up is the B12 deficiency. And I guess everybody will agree to me with this. Now with the vegetarians, there is a source of dairy, which is going to be a biggest source of B12. But as far as the vegans are concerned, the dairy is out. So the major source of B12 is out. So we need to incorporate fibers through whole grain cereals and pulses and the root vegetables, the green leafy vegetables, a whole lot of vegetables. And we can also include fermented foods like idli, dosa, and Hanwo, Dhokla from the Gujarat. Okay, another thing is vitamin D as well. So vitamin D is a hormone in itself. We know it, and it has so much of role post-COVID. Everybody's recognized vitamin D. I mean, not the nutritionists, but even the laymen have recognized it. So vitamin D has a role not only in the immunity, but it also has a major role with diabetes mellitus, CVD, immunity, and a lot of things, right? So I feel if your vitamin B12 and D is not met, the requirements are not met, then I definitely will suggest supplementation so that we do not face this kind of deficiency and the ill effects of them. So I feel even the prebiotics and probiotics, if needed, should be supplemented in such cases. The other micronutrient deficiency we see is the B complex deficiency. And because most of the females are working now, we have cooks at our home and the cooks are not nutritional literate, right? So we need to educate our cooks, let them understand how we lose out on our vitamin B, vitamin C, like overcooking and draining of the water, chopping the vegetables really into small pieces, overcooking the food. So all of these that we know should be taught to our cooks so that there is the minimal loss of micronutrients. Vitamin C is again a lot of very heat labile vitamin, right? So we need to take care of that as well. The next is iron, because these are growing children that we are talking about. So iron deficiency anemia is a huge problem. And when we talk about vegetarian or the vegan diet, it's a non-heme source where the bioavailability of iron is less. And therefore, we should be careful about using vitamin C and protein for the globin part at the same time while we eating the iron sources. The next is omega-3 and the 6. I feel these are anti-inflammatory nutrient, and taking care of a lot of plethora of, plethora of diseases are taken care of with these tiny nutrients. And so include nuts and seeds very liberally in their diets, and it can be disguised in many, many forms. If they don't like to eat it, they can be pulverized and they could be added in the smoothies and food items they really enjoy eating. I'm going to club zinc, magnesium, and selenium because they are all anti-inflammatory and they come from your, sorry, not anti-inflammatory, but they're micronutrients, very important for the immunity and a whole lot of functions that we know about. So include a lot of whole grain cereals, millets, and pulses rather than going for the processed and the refined foods. Even your nuts and seeds help you to meet the requirements. Calcium, we know. Obviously, the vegans are at a loss here because the dairy is not there. The other sources of calcium, again, there's a low bioavailability. So we need to look into all of these sources and try and incorporate all of these food groups in our diet whenever and as many times as possible. So I always say the 5 good food groups, the 5 fingers, make a fist. So united we stand. We are strong when we try and include all of these food groups. And when 1 or 2 are deleted because of the fat diets or whatever reasons, we really fall back, right? So use your my plate theory and make your plate more colorful, the rainbow plate as we call it. So try and incorporate different colors in your diet, your red, green, yellow, orange, purple, everything. And now this may not be practically possible on a daily basis, but at least try to cover it this bi-weekly or at least once a week to take care of all the antioxidants that we have. So I think I've covered all the points. If at all there's something remaining, Sheetal can add on.
No, thank you so much, Swati. You've covered everything. And yes, it is the International Year of Millets. So we do focus on that, and our millets are very nutritious. So in the interest of time, Swati, I'd request you to keep your answer very brief for the next question. Yeah.
Okay.
The next question
Yeah, all right.
is with respect to food processing, there is so much of processing that is happening, and it's almost difficult to escape it. But while we have food processing is essential today, we want to focus on unhealthy food products that are there. And these are what bring about the dual burden of obesity and malnutrition amongst children and teenagers. So how does this impact the micronutrient level in teenagers? And what is the one practical tip that you could tell us that you definitely share? I know you have a great pediatric practice that you definitely share with them.
So, Sheetal, this is my favorite topic as far as the teenagers go, because, now the traditional diets after industrialization and urbanization and minimal process that we were doing at home has been replaced by processing and the industry, the food being cooked in the industries, right? So a lot of peeling out of layers of fruits and vegetables and cereals, the phytochemicals and the fibers are lost, the heating and drying also destroys the water soluble vitamins, the B complex and the C. Even prolonged heating can destroy the fat soluble vitamins to a certain extent. Milling and extrusions can also remove minerals. So these processed foods are basically very high on calories, high on fat, sodium, sugar, and salt. So we as nutritionists have been talking of this very loud. And at the same time, these processed foods are very low in vitamins and minerals because they're original food has been stripped off of the inherent nutrients, and then we are probably trying to replace it by fortifying and things like that. So and of course these are also low on satiety and very high on GI. So this is the trouble shooter, I feel. So I feel the tip is involve your children and teens who are really rebellious about the food the healthy foods that we give them. Involve them into meal planning, listing of the grocery when you go out, buying the groceries, take them to the malls, take them to supermarkets, and buy only the foods that you were listed. Okay, don't spend your time otherwise. Okay, you end up buying a lot of wrong things else. Another thing is what I feel is let me discuss the high fat sugar, the FSH that we call this as. So let's talk about breads and biscuits, which are very high on. Sorry.
Only 1 minute. We have, in the interest of time, we have only 1 minute. We still have one question.
All right. All right. So my point is that instead of eating commercially made breads and biscuits and soups and cold cuts and cured meats, your burritos, tacos, and your sodas and sweetened beverages, why not eat everything that's made at home? Probably you can use your own whole grain cereals, millets, and pulses as a base of your pizza or your burrito wrap, or your instead of your breads and biscuits, you can use your dosas, chilas, and porridges, rotis, khakras for that matter, and make your food more nutritious. I think that's going to take the teenagers a long way ahead.
Great. Thank you so much, Swati. And I think definitely never go grocery shopping on an empty stomach.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Swati. That was very practical and very insightful. my last question is to Anuja ma'am. Anuja ma'am has great experience in
Hello.
sports nutrition. And ma'am, my question to you is, which micronutrients must be supplemented to improve performance for our children? And how to identify sports anemia, which is usually mistaken as fatigue, and what is the implementation that we should do in terms of nutrition strategy?
Thank you, Swati. And this is entirely different from all the other age groups. And this is one of the area we, as I worked in that area, sports nutrition. Can you hear?
Yes, ma'am, we
Hello?
can hear you. We cannot see you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay
ma'am.
then. Okay, so this is one of the thing when we worked in sports nutrition. So this is one of the area we have observed, especially in female athletes. Of course, the sports anemia, it's common, but we observed from my practical work, we are telling you that is the female athletes are more prone to get the sports anemia. There are lots of reasons, and one of the reason is because of their training, endurance training, and their performance. They want to achieve the performance, the stress and everything. Then bioavailability of the iron. All these things are visible when we conducted the study. So what we observed is sports anemia. It is very common among the female athletes, even though they are that will affect their performance. So what we did is we have find out what is the reason for that, and we have categorized the hemoglobin status of the iron status of the female athletes. So we found out that only for the mild anemia, that is moderate and severe will be there. Mild anemia, we can correct it with the supplementation of the food, because most of these people are staying in the hostel. That is the work we carried out. So from my practical experience, I'm telling you, they are having the stipulated that dietary pattern, and some of the diet and all, they are not eating properly and everything, they are omitting. So that's the reason. And some of them are because of the phytate content that is also affecting their absorption and everything. So we supplemented with the iron-rich foods, that is iron-rich snacks, that is from their menu, which time they are not taking that much. Then what we are observing the vitamin C status, that is everything we observed, and we supplemented with the iron supplementation by the snacks, and we observed the hemoglobin status and iron status of the female athletes, and that is how we recovered. And not only that, we are giving the special training program during the endurance training, and for the competitions that time and all, you have to give the special training, and how we have to give the other. So this is the area where you observed in the female athletes, that is the sports anemia. It is very common. And recently, in order to minimize, not only this, we are conducting, as this is the International Year of Millets, we are also working on the basis of millets in collaboration with IIMR Hyderabad, that is Indian Institute of Millet Research Center, where we are procuring the biofortified, that is the latest area, in order to minimize that, because we are on working, I cannot reveal the results. And also one of the famous industry, that is the prebiotics, that is also involved, which has got a great influence to minimize the sports anemia. This is, I want to tell you, because of my practical experience. We are still working on with IIMR Hyderabad, and also one of the industry, because we are not going to relieve that name of the industry, but it is a kind of industry which we are going to launch the product very easily. Okay, this is I want to tell you. So this is a way you can correct the or minimize the sports anemia, especially in the case of female athletes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you for giving us a quick insight into the upcoming options that we have for our athletes with biofortified millets and prebiotics. And yes, iron-rich snacks is definitely something we look at, and we do see a lot of the female athlete diet that is happening amongst athletes, right from the age group of 14 years onwards. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every panel member for being here with us today. And we've learned some very powerful things. We have one question that is there from the, just give me a moment. We have one question from our delegates, and this question is from Shweta Sehgal. Her question is, kindly suggest strategy for young adult who has symptoms of poor digestion, burps, indigestion, and not able to eat healthy, and who is obese too, and will a food sensitivity test help? So, Soumya ma'am, Krishna ma'am. Krishna ma'am, would you like to take this question?
We have to detailedly assess this kid on why is he developing all these issues. Maybe because he's on junk foods that has developed obesity, but at the same time, there is an inflammatory picture in the background because of the lack of micronutrients. First, we will have to correct the gut. So we will have to train him to take all the fruits, vegetables, dairy products and all. And if at all we find specific sensitivity to some foods, only those foods need to be avoided. It will most probably the reason will be that the child was not familiarized with natural fruits and vegetables as a toddler. He was not used to such foods as a toddler. That is why his gut is becoming sensitive to such foods. So we have to educate him on the importance of a balanced diet, try reintroducing all the natural foods, and at the same time reduce all the junk foods, all the free radicals we have to try reducing, all the antioxidants we have to try supplementing, and probiotic will be a great help for him. And also, if the child is anxious about something, we'll have to address that issue also, not only the diet part, but also we have to educate about stress relief. Maybe he is stressed about his studies or scores or something. So the parent also should be educated. The child also should be given some reassurance that it is okay. And also make sure that he is having proper rest also. If the child is not sleeping well also, that could also trigger such symptoms. So we have to educate the whole family to wean him off the screen, to make him sleep adequately, to make him relaxed, and give him his food in a balanced way, and maintaining a good time schedule, and to hydrate well. All these things we can do from our side. And to address the issue of obesity, unlike an adult, we cannot restrict the diet of a child. We have to make sure that all the nutrients that he needs for his age and for his growth is definitely being given. But we have to wean him off the excess calories, empty calories, and all the junk foods we have to make him avoid. And also it is really very important to make him more active. The child should lose weight through activity rather than the diet restriction. So it cannot be done in a short while. It will be a long process where we have to introduce all this step by step.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krishna ma'am. That was very, very practical and extremely insightful. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank all the panel members for their time. And we have learned a great deal today. It's been a very insightful presentation. We've been getting messages on the chat as well as on the WhatsApp groups that members are really, all the delegates are really enjoying the panel discussion. It was very fruitful. Thank you, Sheila ma'am. Your talk was very insightful to set the stage for the panel discussion today.
Thank you.
I'd like to now take a quick 3 minutes to have a short presentation on the conceptualization of Good Monk from a gut perspective. So we believe at SFE, that Superfoods Valley, that gut microbiome is the root cause of all diseases and disorders. And there are 6 key vital micronutrient deficiencies that have been reported pan-India, where we have seen a deficiency amongst not only children, adults, but even the elderly. So it's across generations that we have seen a stark hidden hunger that is present that leads to a lot of deficiency. Therefore, we have probiotics. We have a spore-forming probiotics, which is heat stable. It survives not only the hot temperature of food, but also the acidic pH of the stomach. This is Bacillus coagulans. It is a clinically proven probiotic known to help and improve gut health. Along with that, we have definitely FOS with selective fermentation and increased production of short-chain fatty acids, increased production of lactobacillus, therefore diversifying the gut and modulating the gut for better intestinal barrier function. We see that there is a symbiotic effect with the probiotic and the prebiotic. And the benefits of symbiotic effect is enhanced mineral absorption, a stronger immune system, a reduction in risk of type 2 diabetes, enhanced resilience to stress, improved quality of sleep, better mood, definitely improved digestion, and improved hormone balance. We see that vitamins and minerals are better absorbed with a healthier gut than with a leaky gut. And how do we know and identify that yes, there is a micronutrient deficiency or there is a nutrition gap? Well, as discussed extensively in our panel discussion and as also shared by Sheila ma'am, it shows up in multiple ways. First is definitely poor digestion, constipation, bloating, and acidity. However, it is also both are interlinked into the hair, skin, and nails becoming dull, dry, frizzy, with gaps, decrease in energy, decrease in appetite, or an increase in appetite as well, tantrums, irritation, decrease in focus, decrease in performance, children not gaining height for weight, children also not gaining height for age, and impacting the bones, nerves, as well as the muscles, where children come back with pain in legs, and they need it to be massaged. They're unable to exercise even though they want to exercise. So a nutrition gap actually leads to a poor gut health, which is also one of the root causes of poor absorption of nutrients, leading to micronutrient deficiencies. So I thank you so very much for your time. And today, I would, on behalf of Superfoods Valley, I would like to thank IDA Kerala chapter for having us over, for sharing their time and their valuable knowledge, and for their unwavering support throughout the entire program. I'm immensely thankful to Sheila ma'am, Anuja ma'am, Soumya ma'am, Krishna ma'am, Swati. Thank you so very much for an insightful deliberation. I would now like to invite Soumya to welcome Anita ma'am for the vote of thanks. Soumya, we can't hear you.
Anita ma'am is there, no?
Yes, Anita ma'am is here. Anita ma'am, could you unmute yourself and switch on the video too, please? Welcome, Anita ma'am.
I am in traveling in car, okay. I know all are waiting for wind up the section because of time limit. So I directly go to my duty of delivering vote of thanks. First, I thank Almighty God for His grace upon us to conduct this program very successfully. Then I thank our Sheila ma'am, ex-national president, our IDA national president, for her fruitful section and spend her valuable time along with us. Thank you so much, Sheila ma'am. Happy to see you, ma'am. Then I thank Swati and all the panelists, Soumya, Anuja ma'am, our founder, president, EC member of IDA Kerala chapter. She is our backbone of all our chapter activity. Thank you so much, Anuja ma'am. Then Soumya and Krishna Mohandas, she is also very cooperative, and thank you so much, Soumya and Krishna, for the support and guidance. Thank you so much. Then all our panelists, once again, thank you on behalf of IDA. Then the technical supporters also, thank you so much. And the audience also, thank you. Thank you so much on behalf of IDA. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Seetal ma'am, you are also you are coordinating all these programs. Thank you so much for coordinating this program very well and the costing. Thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anita ma'am, for especially being there with us throughout, even though you're traveling. We truly appreciate your effort.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Good night.
thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Good night. Thank you,
Good night.
ma'am. Sheila, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Sheila ma'am, happy to see you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Sheila,
And
ma'am.
thank you, Sheetal. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you, Anita. Nice to see you too. Soumya, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye, Soumya. Bye,
Bye.
Thank you,
Anuja.
thank you, ma'am. We are meet at JPF meeting.
Which
Last
one?
meeting.
Yeah, that's
JPF
right.
JPF.
Trivandrum.
Yes. Thank you.
ma'am.
Lovely to see all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Bye, Sheetal.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Sheetal.
Krishna,
Good
bye.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you. Sorry, ma'am. Thank you.